Welcome to another episode of Sanctuary Radio. This is a podcast brought to you by Sanctuary Recovery Centers. Our mission is to break the stigma surrounding addiction, to empower others to live addiction-free lives, providing hope to those who suffer from addiction and offer continued care and true healing. All right, here we are, another episode of Sanctuary Radio.
Super excited for this one.
Oh, and we have the big OG Bobby Johnson on. Tony Johnson is on today, and first, my co-host Haley.
What's up, everybody?
Oh, there she is, hair done.
I'm struggling a little bit
Oh, you're on
today.
the struggle bus?
Yeah.
When are you not on the struggle bus? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
That's true. I read the short bus daily.
Yeah, so. You read the short bus daily. And so today's episode, we have our very own BHT, lead BHT at one of our PHP houses, Tony Johnson. So welcome, Tony, to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I mean, it's the least I could do. Did I make your gratitude list today?
You make my gratitude list every day. Baby.
You can come back on the show anytime.
There's a bromance brewing right now.
There's bromance almost 3 years in the making.
I was going to say, I feel like a third wheel right now.
Yeah, it's cool. You fit right in.
It's like, weird it's like when your parents take you on a date.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're driving right now.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
there we go.
Keep your eyes forward.
Don't look in the back seat.
Yeah, don't look in the back seat. It might get real weird around here. And so, and speaking of which, I've also done a fist step with him, so it's been weird already between us.
Oh, it's gotten real weird.
Yeah, it's gotten real weird.
Remix weird.
Yeah, it's gotten real weird. So, me and Tony met, back in, we were in prison together. We met at Florence North Unit, and, I had seen Tony on the yard, and, I was still in the midst of my active addiction, and, you were still in the midst of your sales game, if you will. I bought some spice off of you on the yard, and that was the last time I seen you. And then the next time I seen you. Why don't you tell them the very next time we saw each other?
Well, the next time I saw you, like, it wasn't you. Like, you barely resembled like the dude that you were. Like you're like literally glowing, bro. Like and you started to tell me about recovery and explaining what it was and what you were doing. And honestly, I was just looking at you trying to see the angle, Yeah,
so Haley, I was, I was the guy who did orientation on the yard. So every single newcomer that came to the yard, I was up there giving like a halftime speech at the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And
you do that every day around here.
I do. Thank you. Some would say I'm like the Bill Belichick. Would they say that?
I don't even know who Bill Belichick is.
With a personality.
All right, yeah.
Greatest of all time, self-proclaimed GOAT.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, I better call my sponsor with all that ego.
Yeah.
But either way,
hear that.
Yeah. and either way, I was up there and, I would see these people, and it was really powerful because, all these guys that knew me in my active addiction, when they either come back to prison, which was his case, or they would, be brought back to our unit, they would see me and they'd be like, wait, you're doing what now? Right. You're doing recovery now?
Isn't there a story in the big book that talks about that similar experience?
Yeah, I mean, so at the end of the doctor's opinion, it talks about that being visual proof, seeing someone that you haven't seen in a while. And we go from being trembling, nervous, despairing wrecks, to a man brimming over with self-reliance and contentment. And they know it's us because they can partially recognize our features, but from there, all resemblance ends. And we become visual proof that they can do it. If we can do it, they can do it. And that's what happened. And, I invited you to a meeting. And, the rest is history. We'll kind of talk about that, once we meet back up and we start working the steps together. We'll kind of close out the episode. But, we don't do multiple prison sentences, and you surely don't come to work at, sanctuary recovery centers without a story, without a past. I mean, and Haley, you got a past and you got a story.
I know I have a laundry list.
Yeah,
I have some skeletons in my closet, so.
Yeah, we'll keep that shut for right now.
Still there.
Yeah, they're still there. We're working on them.
Exactly.
We'll weaponize the program. Progress, not perfection, right, Haley?
Every time. Every time.
Yeah. So your journey starts in Seattle. I mean, shout out Seahawks.
Shout out Seahawks.
Shout out Russell Wilson.
You know what? I don't even want to talk about that.
Oh, you don't want to talk about that?
It's a slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope. Shout out Pete Carroll.
Shout out Pete Carroll.
Okay. All right. Okay. We'll see what he can do.
Yeah.
And so why don't you talk a little bit about what it was like growing up in Seattle, the family dynamic, your dad, your mom left when you were 2 years old and you were raised by your dad and all the trauma you experienced. Why don't you share a little bit about that time period?
So, coming in the world, in Seattle, it's a raining place, and I had a lot of rainy days, like my mom, like you said, she left when I was about 2 years old, and that left me and my dad. My dad was actually in recovery,
But he always wasn't in recovery.
he wasn't always in recovery.
Right.
Like I'm the product of two addicts and alcoholics, you know. But I didn't know, you know, what that looked like with my dad. You know, I never saw my dad have a drink. I never saw him do a drug. Like he was just, sometimes he'd take me to these rooms full of weird people.
Oh, weird people.
Yeah, they'd be smoking a bunch of cigarettes and drinking coffee and talking about their lives and stuff. And like I remember it like vaguely, you know, like at a young age, like walking into the rooms and I was actually a part of my dad's recovery, you know, looking back on things now. Didn't realize it when it was happening. But yeah, like my mom was in active addiction and you know, life was just too much for her. You know, she wasn't ready to live life on life's terms, not for a kid, not for my dad. And she bounced and went back out, you know, and never came back. My dad ended up marrying a lady when I was about 3-4 years old, you know, and I remember like being so excited like on their wedding day because I was gonna have a whole family and more brothers and sisters and my brother Herschel, I kept like asking him over and over, like, are we brothers yet? Are we brothers yet? You know, it was exciting, you know? Yeah. I didn't know what I was in for. So my stepmom, like she wasn't a very good person, you know? I experienced a lot of abuse, you know, like at an early age, like it's just constant beat downs. Like I couldn't do anything right. Like I was lied to a lot. Like I was told that, you know, I was worthless. Like, you know, I was a punk, you know, like I was the B word, you know, like
You ever heard the B word, Haley?
Yeah, my kids say it all the time.
Yeah, your kids say it all the time.
My kids are feral, bro.
Yeah, they are.
You came over to the house on Saturday. You
I'm just trying not to cuss right now.
Yeah, I brought. So we went to tour a facility that her family's involved in. It's part of Sanctuary Recovery Centers that's getting ready to open. I brought my daughter, and you know her kids wanted to show my daughter a little tour. And then one of her sons puts the other son in a chokehold and uses a curse word, and my daughter's traumatized. She's like, "Whoa!"
I tried to warn you guys. My kids are straight up feral. Like, I call them my crotch goblins.
And so you had some trauma, man. You got some abuse, you had some trauma, and it didn't stop, and it lasted for a prolonged period of time. I mean, but you did have one outlet, and that one outlet was football, man. What did football mean to you?
Well, football meant the world to me. It's really weird for a kid's safest place to be on a football field, but that's what showed me, most of the love that I got when I was a kid, that camaraderie from the sport, that being on the field, getting a sack, scoring a touchdown, that high that I got from that
validation,
like completely, and I was decent, I was decent at it. I was finally good at something. So, like I said, like being told that I was dumb and I was worthless and, I was never going to be anything. Well, now I'm showing myself that I can be something. And, it felt really good being out there.
Yeah. I mean, with your size, you were probably like a slot receiver?
Yeah. I was a running back, linebacker. Yeah. I was a pretty big boy.
Yeah. No, I mean, nothing's changed, brother. You might want to hit that treadmill a little bit, brother.
Jason.
What happened?
You know what?
What happened?
6'2", 280.
Yeah, not
more
a big,
to love, baby.
It's not a
more
big deal.
Love.
Yeah. It's not a big deal. And so, you're playing football, but things are horrible at home. And, I've had the privilege of sponsoring you, and you're part of my team, and we work together, and, we're friends as well. And so, I know there's a period of time when you wouldn't want to go home. Why don't you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so, I think that all humans, obviously we all have that fight or flight instinct. We're going to do what we have to do to survive. So I made a choice, in about the 4th grade, that I would rather take an ass whooping by my dad with a belt than let this lady beat up on me with her fists. So after school, I was supposed to go straight home from school, like any kid's supposed to do, go home where it's safe. And instead of going home, I'd find friends to go hang out with. I'd go to the community center. If I didn't have anybody to hang out with at all, I'd hide behind the house and wait for my dad to come home. And every day I'd lie to my dad about where I was because I was scared of her. So my dad'd be like, you know, where were you? Oh, I was at Hutchinson, you know, the community center, or I was at this guy's house, or I was doing this. And, you know, when you're a kid, you think that your lies are so great, but my lies obviously sucked. Like, my dad never believed me. He always knew I was lying. So I'd get whooped for not coming home from school and for lying. But I was so scared to tell my dad, like, I'm scared to come home because this lady's going to beat the shit out of me. You know? I'd rather take that ass whooping from him with a belt than just get banged on all night, you know?
Yeah, and so that's just a description of the type of trauma that you were experiencing. You ever been whooped with a belt, Haley?
Yes.
You have?
Yeah, I've been whooped with a lot of different things.
Yeah. It checks out.
Yeah.
Okay, and so, you know, when you're 10 years old, you know, your dad has a stroke, and that's a major event. You know, he's pretty much paralyzed or crippled, if you will. I hate to even use those words to speak about your father, but he was in bad shape after that stroke. And so that just pretty much left you with that lady, right? And the abuse that went on in the home, and you didn't even have your dad to stick up for you anymore. And, you know, you had some stepbrothers and stepsisters, and, you know, you definitely weren't treated on the same playing field, that's for sure. No. And, you know, that was a pretty bad situation. And, you know, finally after everything, you know, we have these, just like I did, I had big dreams of going pro. And then once that dream isn't there anymore, you know, because it's a full scale thing to become a professional. You got to be, you know, nutrition. You got to have the proper equipment. You got to be able to hit the weight pile. You got to be able to do all those things. You ever hit the weights, Haley?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, sometimes.
Pilates?
No.
Look like it.
Yoga?
These are just natural guns.
Oh, you're on the you're on the natch right now?
Yeah.
I get it.
Oh, you're on the natch right now. Okay, my bad. And so finally you say, you know what, you become pretty much homeless in Seattle. And so finally you make a geographical change because you got some brothers and sisters. And when you're 17, you know, you move out to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Now, are we talking about Tropicana? Are we talking about Fremont Street? Or are we talking about Henderson?
6255 West Tropicana. Trop and Jones.
Oh,
Foothills Village.
Oh,
you know?
Let it be known.
That's where we did it.
That's where you did it. So you move out when you're 17. Why don't you talk a little bit about what it was like, you know, moving out to, and your reasoning behind even moving out there. Why don't you talk about that time period for us?
Well, see, my reasoning behind everything was I do have, you know, half brothers and sisters. That are my brothers and sisters, you know.
How many?
My dad had 18 kids altogether.
Dang.
Like somewhere around there.
Yeah, he must not have had cable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad was born in 1933, bro. He's been doing it big all over the map.
That's crazy.
But what happened was, you know, like my brothers and sisters were my heroes, you know. Like when I went over there, like I was always safe. They were pimps and prostitutes and drug addicts and alcoholics and that, but they were the safe people, you know. So those were my heroes. So when I came of age, like I was like, you know what? I'm going where my brothers and sisters are. I'm not going to be in Seattle anymore dealing with this rain, because when you're homeless in the rain, that sucks.
Right.
I don't know if you ever had soggy socks before. That's
Haley?
hard, you know.
Have I?
Yeah, have you had
I think
soggy
everyone's
socks?
experienced having soggy socks
Soggy
before,
socks
and it
every
really
day is different.
Not fun.
It's different, you know. But so yeah, like I decided I'm going to Vegas. Like it's gonna be sunny. I'll be with my brothers and sisters, where in my head there's still these heroes.
Because you
know?
bounced around for a period of time too, where you were in Vegas, you were in Seattle, you were in Wyoming, you were bouncing wherever it could be safe. Because you also got a check when you were younger.
Yeah, so you know, if
everyone wanted to take.
If I showed up, like you got a couple bucks for it, you know.
Yeah, so everyone wanted you around for the summer.
Yeah, so I mean, but that's what happened. Like I get back to Vegas, and when I show up, things are different. Like now,
like how different?
Now, my brothers and sisters have been in active addiction for the last 18 years, you know, ever since I was born. Like, you could see the wear that it's had on them.
The progression.
Yeah, the progression of the illness, you know, like, they're not glowing anymore. You know, they don't have all that money anymore, you know, none of the shiny things. And it had me messed up because I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, you showed up at the trap house.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Haley, you ever spend any time in the trap house?
Yes.
You look like you've seen a trap house before.
Yeah, maybe you've seen one or two.
I mean, I think trap houses are a little different in Wickenburg.
Oh, trap trailers?
They're just sketchy. I don't even know if you call them a trap
quarter
house.
acres.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Single wide trailer, and you know, there's about 30 trailers that are all the same.
They don't even open the window. They just use the hole in the trailer.
Oh God.
So if you live in a single wide, then you're really hood.
Yeah, just go to Wickenburg, and there's like a whole area where it's just meth. Trailers everywhere.
I get that.
They call it the property.
That's basically how the foothills were. Like it was like your Wickenburg trailers.
Mm-hmm.
But like with me, you know, I never had that violence in me. Like I never had anger or rage or anything in me. And now I'm in Vegas, you know, like surrounded by sharks, wolves, you know, all the predators. And me not having that natural, like, you know, violent streak in me, that's how I became an alcoholic. Like, I realized, you know, when I had a couple beers in me, when I got a bottle, when I had a few drinks, well, then, yeah, I'm ready to fight. Like, I'm ready to tear shit up. Because I had a lot of anger and resentment inside of me, you know? Like, that wasn't fair how I was raised. You know, that wasn't fair what I went through in Seattle. Nothing was fair. Life was so unfair. So alcohol gave me the courage to go out there and turn into killer.
And that was your nickname in the streets.
Yeah.
What was your nickname in the streets, Haley?
I don't have a nickname from the streets.
You don't have one?
Well, I mean, I had a nickname when I was drinking.
Which was?
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk.
Yeah. Because I would fight any grown man when I got liquor inside me. I was a straight up, like She-Hulk. Like, I just...
And you're a cowgirl, so do you have a chew in your mouth too?
Always.
Oh,
I have one in right now.
Yeah,
but,
you do.
It wasn't going to say anything. Every day, all the time.
Did that.
And so now, you know, because you started drinking in 8th grade, you know, football parties after football games, and, you know, you like the effect just like we all do when we start using. But now, you know, you're pretty much on your own in Vegas. I mean, you know, you can't take care of, you know, your brothers and sisters are in active addiction, so they ain't taking care of nobody, you know. So now you got to drink, and, you know, and it's violent out there. You ever been to Vegas, Haley?
Yeah.
How many
just
times?
Recently.
Oh, yeah?
We used to go every December for the NFR.
Did you play any blackjack?
No, I don't gamble.
You don't gamble? No, did you see any shows?
I do sometimes. I do the slots, but I try to stay away from
those.
cards. First of all, I'm
Slots,
slow.
huh? Yeah.
You know this about me. I'm very slow, so I can't keep up with cards. It confuses me. So.
Yeah, you can't pay attention.
No.
You're the person that's sitting on the far left at the blackjack table, and you know what I mean?
Fucking it all
Yeah,
up.
and it just gets all bad.
I don't
Everybody's
even
mad
like
at you.
watching people play cards. Like, I just keep to myself in Vegas. So.
Hitting on 17.
Yeah, so now you're in Vegas, and, you know, ultimately, man, you got to figure out a way to make some money to survive, and so that's when your sales, and, you know, narcotics and drugs, and, you know, comes into play. And so now we go on this period where, you know, you start selling. What was that like?
Well, initially, like I said, like, I thought that alcohol was gonna make me violent, like, and the violence was gonna protect me, so I wouldn't have any problems in the streets. I got myself shot, you know, being drunk and mean and raging all over the place. So then the drug dealing thing, like, I had changed addictions from alcohol to selling drugs, because if I had money, then I'd be powerful, right? And that's what I believed, you know? Like, without that home training, like, I kept teaching myself different ways to be a man, you know? And the lie became the truth. So that money was validating me. That money was making me have all the shiny things, the cars, the jewelry, like, you know, women. Like, you know, I was the cool kid. Everybody loved me. My phone always rang, you know? And that was, like, really important to me, coming from that kid that nobody loved. Now everybody loves me. I didn't know what it was going to bring, though.
Yeah, and so, you know, it all goes so good till it all goes so bad.
Right.
I mean, has that ever happened to you, just going all bad?
All the time, every day.
Every day?
Every day. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I can relate.
Every day you're in that flight or fight.
All the time.
All the time. But it goes so bad for you, and, like, I mean, almost as bad as you can get, death being, you know, the worst it could be, obviously, but, you know, you get shot, right? So why don't you talk about what happened that day when you got shot?
Well, that night, I was actually drinking Bacardi 151, like, blacked out drunk. It was Christmas Eve. Shouldn't even have been out of the house. They came and, my buddies came and woke me up and said some skinheads were trying to jump them. And I just jumped up thinking I was just going to go get in a regular fight, you know. But I'm blacked out drunk, and I show up. And these dudes, honestly, I think they were just scared, you know, because I'd been in so many fights, because I was so wild. Like, I showed up at that store, and they weren't playing with me. So we started fighting, and got into it with a couple of them. I started getting a bad feeling, like I needed to get out of there. And when I turned around, then I saw a dude with a pistol, and he plugged me, you know. And I went into that store able-bodied. I came out leaking, you know. A few of my friends were outside. They're actually the ones that told me I was shot. Shout out to Lanny.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Lanny was out there, and I was dying, you know. Like I was dying over my alcoholism. That's what it was about, you know?
Yeah.
And that's hard. You know, it was hard.
So then they rush you to the hospital, and, you know, you heal up in the hospital. Obviously you survive, right? You got a pretty gnarly scar on your stomach. You got shot in the stomach, and, you know, but from there you start to develop this crazy little thing called anxiety, right? And so what ends up happening once you start to experience anxiety?
Well, I honestly, in the beginning, like, I had no idea what it was. Like, I felt like I was dying every day, you know? And I noticed that when I drank a little bit, it would take the edge off and I wouldn't have any anxiety. But I also realized that I couldn't stay drunk every day. I just got shot, you know? Like, it was over alcohol. Like, I've never been a stupid person. So I go to the doctors and, you know, I let them know what's going on and everything. And they're like, oh, okay, you got post-traumatic stress disorder. You know, you've been, like, abused. You've been seeing people die. You almost died yourself. So what we're going to do is we're going to put you on this prescription. Like, we're going to give you some Paxil or I think the first one was Zoloft. And we're going to give you some Xanax.
The good stuff.
Oh, the good stuff. You like Xanax back in the day?
Yeah, the first time I ever tried Xanax, I was getting my side tattoo done. And she's like, here, take this. This will help with the pain. I don't remember getting this tattoo. And I woke up in a hotel, and an ex-boyfriend had driven down from Camp Verde to take me home because I was just blacked out. Like, I have no idea how I got there. And then I have this badass piece on my side. I was like, all right, well, I definitely don't remember the pain.
And so that was ultimately like your first, like, real, I mean, drug of choice, if you will, for a long period of time, because for the next, let's just say, until another traumatic event happens in your life, you know, for about 5 or 6 years, you're just taking Xanax, you're not drinking, you're just selling dope.
It's like the drug that wasn't. That's how I feel about, you know, prescription drugs. It's how I felt about prescription drugs, because I wasn't drinking and I wasn't smoking weed and I wasn't doing meth or anything like that. I was getting these pills from the doctor.
Right.
So that made it okay, you know? And, you know, on that pill bottle, it says, you know, take 1 tablet daily or as needed. Well, I honestly believed that I was never supposed to feel anxiety, that a adult is never supposed to have anxiety. So anytime I'd feel some anxiety, I'd take more. And I was just on autopilot all day long, you know, all through my 20s, you know. It's hard to even look back and remember everything because I was on tranquilizers all the time.
Right.
And when I didn't have them, it was 30 times worse all the time. But I wasn't a drug addict because I got them from the doctor, you know.
Yeah, if anyone's ever done...
common...
Yeah, when the doctors prescribe them to you?
Yeah.
And if you've ever done Xanax for Valiums or Ativans for a prolonged period of time, you know, you black out all the time and you wake up in the morning and you almost do like the Macarena. You're like, okay, my arms are there. Where's my
keys?
Are my
wallet?
Like, is the car out front?
Checking the text messages.
Yeah, like, did I send any crazy messages? You know,
done that once or twice.
Done that once or twice. Then you got your girl shows up or your boyfriend. You just kind of spot check them. Good morning.
Just to see if they're going to be snippy or not.
Yeah. And if she's like, oh, good morning, babe, you're like, yes.
Yeah, got away with that one.
Yeah, it's all good, right?
Sometimes not so much.
Sometimes not so much. And so
many people were mad at me.
Yeah, right. And, you know, you continue to sell drugs, and then you want to, you know, you're kind of, you know, trying to back out the game because, you know, you see that there's no longevity in it, right? And so you have your best friend, his name's Fly, and, you know, R.I.P., and you turn it over to him, and, you know, he ends up getting killed, right? Talk about that time period, losing your best friend.
Well, see, like you said, like I realized there was no longevity in the game. Like, and, you know, I have a mom that took me in from the neighborhood.
Yeah, shout out Mom.
Like, I love Mom.
Yeah.
Like, and, you know, we talk a lot about something else because she'd always tell me, Tony, you're too smart for this. Like, you're too good for this. Like, why are you doing this? You know? And she never condemned me for what I did, but she didn't condone what I did, you know? So anyways, you know, I meet a girl, and she's from New Mexico, and I decide I'm going to move to New Mexico. So I left Fly running the show, Fly and my boy Mel. You know, I changed locations, changed geographic locations. I was working in a daycare. I'm going to school. You know, I thought that was the answer now. I got a good relationship with a girl. Like, I'm in school. I'm working. I'm doing everything that a normal person does, so now I'm going to be normal, right? And then I realized really fast out there, I didn't fit in. Like, I wasn't ready to leave the money that I was making in Vegas. Like, I didn't want to be in that relationship. I was merely using her to fill this void that I had inside of myself. I was looking for an out, you know? And when I told Fly that, you know, I was coming back, I mean, from the stories that I hear, he started melting down. He thought he wasn't going to have the money anymore. And he was hanging out with some chick, and she set him up, and they killed him, you know? Like, over $2,000 that they didn't even take. They didn't take the money. They shot him a bunch of times and kicked him out of the car and left him on the side of the street leaking. The neighbors said they laughed and spit on him, and they left him like that. So when I found out about that, you know, the Xanax started getting double timed, you know, because the guilt that I felt from that, the guilt that I felt because I put him in that position, because I should have taught him better, because I should have warned him, because it should have been me, you know. That's how I felt back then, and I could never change that, you know. But I changed who I am, and every day I make my amends for that, because that was rough.
Yeah, it was rough, and you know, and so now you end up, you know, having to go back because you got this business. You lose a friend, your best friend at that. You know, you get married. You have your son Jordan.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Jordan. Did he just graduate 8th grade or what?
He just graduated.
He's so
8th
cute.
grade.
I see your posts about him on Facebook.
And, you know, God's working miracles in your life, and slowly but surely,
Yes.
you know, one day soon, on God's time, you'll have that ability to be a dad again and a father. And it's all coming back around. You know, we always want these things come back right away, right? But it's, you know, we're not God.
Sometimes it takes time.
It does, and sometimes it does take time. And so you do a little bit of jail time in Vegas. You know, you do that big, long jail sentence, just long enough to get your first piece of mail. You do 4 months.
4 months hard time.
You were hard time in 4 months. Yeah. Big killer in there.
Yeah.
Right? Commissary
Killer.
fights.
Never been in prison.
Yeah. And so, you know, then you get out with it. You find God while you're in there.
Yeah. I opened up a Bible. Someone started showing me how to read. Like, I started doing Bible studies. I found the answer then for sure. Like, I knew that was the answer.
Yeah, and you had a firm resolution never to use again.
Use again, like that's retarded. Like you don't use if you just pray and read a Bible.
Yeah, that's it.
That's all you had.
What do they say, Haley? Faith without works is
dead.
There you go.
I do know
There
that
you
one.
go.
You know that one.
I do know that one.
So that didn't work.
It didn't work, and you started.
I've tried the pray the addiction away before. It doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
No.
Not even a little bit.
I mean, maybe for some, didn't work for me.
Yeah, it didn't work for me either.
You know?
And so you start selling dope again, and, you know, now another traumatic event happens over a Seattle Seahawks jersey.
Sean Alexander, baby.
Sean Alexander jersey. You know, why don't you just briefly, you know, tell the story about, because you get ran over by a vehicle and drugged like 300 yards.
Oh, 500 feet.
Oh, 500 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you just tell that brief story, because this is a real pivotal moment in your story, because after this accident, you know, you get introduced to opiates.
Drugs.
Real
drugs.
Yeah.
Not the pretend drugs I was taking before. But, yeah, so long story short, I leave a Seahawks jersey at this dude's house. You know, the dude owed me some money already. I leave the jersey over there. I was already mad about the money, but I'm trying to help him, right? Like I'm looking for a detox to get him into, because he has a drug problem.
Yeah, not you.
Not me at all, you know? He was doing heroin. So you definitely need to go to detox and get your life straight, you know? When really I just wanted him to keep selling my weed for me and, you know, making my money and fix that shit. So anyways, I leave this jersey over there. And it's really ironic. Like, you know, I call him and, you know, he doesn't want to answer the phone, you know, because he's about to sell this jersey. It was official, like, you know, game jersey. And I tell him I'm going to break his jaw, right? So that night he sends the cops to my house. Like, he's scared for his life, like, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I'm, like, outraged. Like, who the fuck sends the cops to my house, you know? So I decided to chalk it up. Well, a few months later, like, I get in an argument with my ex, and I leave the house pissed off because she doesn't want to give me the car keys to go to the casino.
You ever got in an argument, left the house pissed off, Haley?
Yeah, all the time.
No car keys, huh?
Is there any other way to leave
places,
the house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I'm angry.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a crap. I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, and I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'll
run you over if I have the car anyway, so if I'm that mad.
It's funny you say that because I'm walking through this parking lot. I see dude, and I approached his truck, and I asked him for my jersey.
Oh, you asked him?
I asked
politely?
him. Politely.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how I asked him.
Yeah, okay.
I was probably pretty aggressive, I imagine.
There we go.
He's probably scared to death, Like, he got this big 280-pound dude tripping that he already called the cops on. Like, I'd imagine there was a lot of red flags there. So he slammed on the gas. He hit me and drugged me 500 feet, then ran my body and my arm and my face over. I had 47 fractures. I was in a coma for 3 months. I come out of the coma strung out on opiates.
And that's what really took you.
I've seen that scar on your shoulder. You just showed me that the other day. It's pretty gnarly.
You had your face reconstructed.
Facial reconstruction. Like, all my ribs on my right side are broken. 3rd-degree burns over 26% of my body. Shoulder, skin graft, all down my back. Like, it was gnarly,
So we talk about the trauma from the childhood. We talk about getting shot. We talk about our best friend, getting murdered and killed, and running a business. The guilt, the shame that comes from that, and then getting drugged and being in a coma for 3 months. And when we really truly look at that, because that's $1 million question we ask everyone when they first come into recovery. I like to, there's some tough questions about recovery, like why? Mm-hmm. Why do you continue to use drugs?
Right.
And typically their answer would be they like the effects. God, we're on a roll. Is that 2 for 2 today, Haley?
2 for 2.
Oh, we're doing good. They like the effects. That's a pretty decent answer. I use because I like it. Okay, that's good. But what's another answer? And usually we don't really have an answer until we work a 4 and a 5. When we see that we're completely consumed by resentment, we got PTSD, we have had traumatic events that are untreated. We're full of guilt, shame, embarrassment, remorse, regret. We're full of these things, and drugs and alcohol are the solution. Don't think, don't feel, don't care.
I was going to say.
Yes.
That was good.
We're doing a little trivia right now.
Me off right
Yeah,
all right.
that's my favorite.
He does it to me all the time.
That's my favorite thing to do. And
don't think, don't feel, don't care.
Don't think, don't feel, don't care. We don't care about it. We don't think about it, and we don't feel it. Right. And so we get caught in that cycle of a spree where we just continue to use because we don't want to feel it, or think about it, or care about it. And so now, though, you got this crazy little thing called a opiate addiction, which, now we throw a little bit of meth in the mix. What was it like when the first time, because I remember this story, the first time you experienced being dope sick, physically dependent now, and you were in withdrawal the first time?
Oh, my God. I was supposed to be taking my kids to basketball practice at YMCA. And, I had ran out of pills, actually, the day before, and I decided I'm done.
Which was because you were getting a ton of scripts, so this is like the first time in maybe a year.
No, this is actually the first time in like maybe 3.5, 4 months.
Yeah, okay.
I just ate like over 1,000 pills in that time period, though. So I just decided cold turkey. I'm gonna quit. I don't need him anymore. And I was sitting on the couch. I couldn't get up. Like, I couldn't move. Like, those first few hours were bearable. Like, I was dope sick, I started crying. I reached out to my brother, and, he was opiate addict, and I was like, dude, like, I don't know what's going on right now, and,
he's like, I do.
Yeah.
I know exactly.
Like, baby brother, like you're addicted, like you need some dope, And I was like, not me, like I'm not gonna do any heroin, like I don't do that kind of shit. And he's like, baby brother, you're already on heroin, you just didn't know it yet. So what you need to do is you need to go back to the doctors, and you need to tell them to get this monkey off your back before you find a gorilla on it.
Dang.
That was real.
Yeah, it was real. And, how common is it, Haley, because you do all of our admissions, you're constantly filling all the beds that we have, and also, working with other treatment facilities, of our previous podcasts, we brought a lot of people on from other facilities. Shout out Megan Riversource, shout out to Crossroads, and we had, what was his name on there?
Peter Meyerhoff.
We had Peter Meyerhoff,
Justin.
Wisely.
Marcus.
Marcus was on our last show, and so we're continuing to network because when we're full, we continue to, work. We're a team, and that's why we do this podcast and bring them on, because we all work together. But how common do you think it is when you see all these opiate addicts that are out there now? Typically, it starts with pain pills. Is that usually your experience?
Typically, it's a doctor's prescription that gets them hooked, and then they just cut them off, and then they just go to the streets for their medication.
Yeah.
That's how my dad's opiate addiction started. He broke his neck in a horse accident, and they were feeding it to him like candy. And then they put in all those stipulations in place, took it away from him, and my sister was like, "Hey, try heroin.
Yeah,
it's cheaper."
And that was the same thing with me.
Yeah.
Knee injury with pills, and the next thing you know, I'm doing heroin. It happens so quick. But once we start, doing those types of drugs, well, any drugs bring negative consequences to our life, but especially heroin and meth, you throw that combo in the mix. Ultimately, you land in prison. Now you're out in Arizona now. And you catch your first prison sentence. You do 3.5 years, and that's where we run into each other for the first time. But we're both on different paths at this time.
Yeah,
you're doing your things, you're selling, and I'm out there just doing my thing and
running amok.
Yeah, running amok. Last time I seen him, I got him to sell me some spice right in the middle of the yard, broad daylight, and he
Costs
was
everywhere.
Yeah, he was so mad about it, and I was like, "Look, brother, come on."
Just give me that spice.
Yeah, you know what it is.
Ew, I don't even like spice.
Nothing.
Yeah.
All he's worried
Sounds
about
miserable.
is smoking a stick.
Yeah.
It'd be all good. It'd be a perfect world again.
And then so, you do that 3.5 year prison sentence. I mean, you worked in the GED, you were tutoring some people there, you did all that. And you had, again, this firm resolution to get out and be a father and to reconnect and to do all these things. And, but this time when you get out, you go to a halfway house, sober living. And now all of a sudden because I know you likes to wear them Jordans, brother.
Oh yeah,
those ain't cheap.
Like I'm a pretty fly dude most of the time.
Yeah.
I know. I saw your first car that you bought, or that car that you bought.
Yeah, the Impala. Or
No, the Jeep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that thing is
that's
out
how
of this world.
That's how we're living.
That's what recovery looks like.
Yeah, that's what recovery
The
looks
big book
like,
says,
but
being all powerful, he provided what we needed if we kept close to him and performed his work well. In my experience, God's provided everything I need and want.
every
That's
single
true.
thing.
Every single time, but you got to put the work in, and your life reflects that today, and we're going to get to that here in a minute.
Yeah.
But it wasn't your time to find recovery yet, and so you're out for 11 months. You go back. Typically, anytime anyone comes back to prison, we're like, what's up? Or they come back to treatment, Haley, you're like, what happened?
Exactly.
And you're like, well, I went back to what I knew. Or it's like, I met this
girl,
girl,
guy.
In your case, girl or guy, it could be either one. You keep it
swing both ways.
You keep it mysterious.
He says, "Whoa."
Haley,
you just never know with
Haley,
me.
Yeah, you're real.
I love who I love.
Yes,
I can't
you
help
do.
it.
And you don't discriminate on your love.
No.
That's very nice of you, Haley.
That's cool.
But I am pretty selfish with it. So
It's
if
getting
you're
a little
in my
weird
inner
now.
circle, you're good.
Yeah. And so, you end up going back to prison, and, you got to tell everyone what you went back. You did another 3.5 year prison sentence where we run back into each other, and, what'd you have, a few pounds of meth and, 26 kilos of cocaine? I mean, what happened when you got arrested?
3 Suboxone strips.
3 strips.
Dang.
They raided my house in Mesa. They didn't find the work. They found 3 Suboxone strips and basically gave me 1.23 years per strip. Slayed me. I was on probation.
Oh my gosh.
Career drug dealer on probation. They were doing their best to get me off of the streets. It was within the parameters of the law, and they hammered me. So yeah.
And that's AZ don't play. They got that sentencing chart. All they know is that whatever you got arrested for is a F4, felony 4. You got
second category.
Second category. You got these priors, and they just kind of like, yep, there you go, 3.5 years.
Yeah, they don't really care about your story.
Actually, it was 4.5 years.
They gave you some love.
They gave me some love, and then gave me a 7-year probation tell.
Oh, you got that 7-piece probation?
Did that,
Probation's easy when you're not using, you're doing the right thing. When we work recovery, dude, probation is nothing.
Yeah, right. I get salty sometimes because my PO shows up. Like, my PO is gonna stop by the house every week. My PO is gonna stay on top of me about my fines. But that's how my higher power works today. Like, I actually, I probably need
that accountability.
And
we all do.
But it's not hard. I do what I'm supposed to do, and it's not hard.
Yeah, and so then we run back into each other. When you come back, you were in a different yard, and you were on, you were at Steiner unit, Stickum Steiner. Mm-hmm. You know what they say?
That was like a third world country over there.
How's it go? Haley, do that one more time.
It's a little jabby jab. That's what
when you hear that, that's what you think about.
Stickum Steiner.
Yeah.
A little jab jab. Someone's getting shanked. That's all I know.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
wrong. And so then, you start to figure out, like, you want to do something different. And, now we know it to be God, and God brings you over back to Florence North Unit, where shout out North Unit Recovery. Go to Facebook, like our page, be a part of it. God was on that yard, and it's a fact to me. It's an undeniable fact. And so, you end up coming to orientation. We see each other, right? And I'm just going to put you on blast. You were up all night because you did some meth as soon as you hit the yard.
Away.
So you hadn't slept with a firm resolution not to use, and you had to make all these changes in your life. And then, and here we are again. And so when we run into each other in orientation, I invite you to that first meeting. Share that first meeting experience.
That first meeting, I was reading What is the NA Program? And while I was reading what the NA program was, like, it was answering a lot of the questions that I've been asking myself my whole life.
Right.
Like, why am I like this? Why do I feel like this? Why do I keep losing everything? And as I started reading it, something inside of me broke, Tears started coming to my eyes. I was so embarrassed.
Because there was about 50 guys in that room.
There was 50 dudes in that room. I was scared to death. I did not want to look up at everyone. I thought that there would be ridicule and laughter and everybody making fun of me. And when I finally did get the courage to look up and look around at the guys that I was around, all I saw was love, hope, and caring and understanding. And for years after that day, people would approach me and they'd be like, Tony, like, I remember that first meeting when you walked in there, and how when you got emotional, we all knew that was it for you.
When I see tears in people's eyes in meetings, when they come in their first meeting and they got tears in their eyes, typically they say don't approach people and ask them to be their sponsor. But when they start crying in meetings with their first one, I'm like, hey, bro, I'm your sponsor, just so you know. Yeah.
That's good, though, because sometimes we don't have the courage to, a lot of our clients struggle with having the courage to ask somebody to be their sponsor. So I feel like if we had more people kind of be like, no, you're with me. Come on, let's go.
But it's that pain. It's all about pain, man. And when, it's capitalizing on that pain and getting recovery, not relief. And that's what happens usually. We get a little bit of relief and mistake it for recovery, and we go back out. And so, later on that night, you asked me to be your sponsor, right?
I chose up.
Yeah, you chose up. You know what I mean? And that's what happened.
So here's the romance now.
Yeah. And so, and then, dude, we got busy, bro. We lived in the same hut. We met daily. Shout out Miss Franz, moderate substance abuse treatment, where I worked. You worked up there with me. I got you a job up there. We worked together in between groups. We were doing step work together. You worked all the steps. You started doing service commitments. Do you remember what that time period was like for you?
Well, it was uncomfortable and awkward, if I'm being honest. I was surprising myself more and more, like, every day by not using. But I'd hear people talk about their pink clouds and, like, how great their lives were. And I didn't feel that right away. But I knew that I had nothing to lose by doing my best, by trying. And that I could look at you and see visual confirmation that recovery is possible. And if you can do it, then I can do it. But I just had to figure it out. So in the beginning, it was just a lot of, like, hard work and learning and, like, and starting to figure things out about me, like what was making me tick, like why did I have these feelings, like the who, what, where, when, how of Tony, And then after a while, like what was so awkward and uncomfortable and unnatural, like it started to become comfortable and natural and not awkward. And I began to gain confidence. But still, though, like at North Unit, like you said, God was there. Like, I've never heard anybody experience anything like we experienced there. I honestly didn't know how much I'd grown until I went to a different yard and there was no recovery there. Then all of a sudden, I realized I was a big deal. Like, what I did was a big deal,
Yeah, we had, the type of recovery that we had there, man, it's something that is almost legendary at this point. It really was. The men that were on that yard, all the facilitators that came in, and Pepe and, Big Tom and Bill and shout out, Rick, they came rain or shine, Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, New Year's Day, no matter what, they were there. And, you know, we found recovery there. We worked together there. You had service commitments. You were sponsoring other men there. And then they shut the yard down and they branched all of us out. That was God's plan for us to take that recovery to all these other yards.
Scattered us like seeds all over Arizona.
They scattered us all over. And then you started your own meetings there. And
But that was God right there too, right? He was setting you guys up to send you guys out like soldiers. And that always like... Thinking about it gives me chills.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, it was all in God's plan, and every single one of the guys from the North Unit Fellowship started meetings and, you know, extra meetings and more meetings and spread the message of hope and love and tolerance and forgiveness and understanding and God's will and work the steps, and you know that's what you did on the new yard you went to, and then you got released. You went to a reentry facility, and you know, what was it like having to go to another facility straight from the yard?
Oh, I was pissed. Like, if I'm keeping it real here, like, I was salty. Like, my interstate compact got rejected. Like, I had nowhere to go out here. I didn't want to go into that program, but I needed to go into a program. I needed some kind of stability until I could figure out, like, what I was going to do next. Because even though I did recovery for the last couple years in prison, I've never done it out here before.
Right.
So I did that so that I could transition into the world. And what I realized right away after I was done being pissed and after the tears dried up again, because I'm a crybaby. Like, we know, I'll cry over a macaroni and cheese commercial.
Yes, you will.
Like, once I was there, I was going to do that. And that's where I actually learned really how to facilitate groups. Like, how I really saw what recovery had done. And I haven't stopped, you know. Like, I used that as my training field. I did my groups to pay the rent. At night, I'd set my life up. And by the time my 90 days was up, it wasn't going to be another day more than 90. Like, I was dead set on that. I'd have a car. I'd have a job. I'd be in a place. I'd be ready to go. Like,
and you did that.
I did that.
Yeah, you got a car, and now you got a better car. You got right into a job. You not only do you work for us in recovery, but you also run a sober living home.
Shout out to all my guys at the Citrus House.
Shout out to the Citrus House and your guys. If you're looking for sober living, give him a call, man. He'll help you. He'll help you get in. His phone never stops ringing. He'll help you with anything you need, just like Haley will, just like I will. Reach out to us, man. Look us up on social media. Call the admissions line. You know, reach out to Facebook and TikTok and Instagram. We're everywhere, man. Sanctuary Recovery Centers, man. Look us up. Reach out to us. But that's what you did, man. You got an Impala. Now you got a Jeep, a ridiculously nice Jeep.
Sick.
It's a little something.
Yeah, it's a little something.
A little something.
And, you know, you got sponsees. We have a service commitment together, which you no-showed last night, by the way. Thank you very much.
Dang, you're getting called out.
No, but you want to know what's funny is he told me about his back and I already knew that. What he was really telling me was he wasn't going to be there tonight.
You know, I don't got to live like that no more. You know? I'm going to keep it 1,000.
I think after all his injuries, though, if his back's hurting, I'm assuming it's probably hurting.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that later. But anyways, regardless of the fact, man, you're accountable, dude. You got multiple sponsees, multiple service commitments. You run a sober living. You know, you work here. You got a car. Your relationship with your son is slowly but surely coming back, dude, on God's time. You know, you got good. I mean, the credit score, the financial stuff, it's all coming. Every single thing is coming around. And I told you, which was 3 years ago, just about, you'll be celebrating 3 years of recovery. When's your sobriety date?
July 26th.
July
2019.
July 26, 2019, you'll be celebrating 3 years of recovery. And I told him way back when in our moderate treatment substance abuse building with Miss Franz in there, I said, when we get out of here, we're going to work in recovery together. We're going to get the whole squad together, this North Unit Fellowship, and we're going to help a lot of people. And that's what we've done. We got Preston, we got Rashawn, we got Justin, we got you.
Is Patrick part of that group?
We got Patrick, right? We got Patrick, you know, and all the other guys along the way, man. We've built this team here with, you know, solid recovery, with a passion for this thing, dude, and that's what you've brought. And so, you know, currently Tony is our, you know, lead BHT over at one of our PHP houses for the for our IOP. He's there, works the 3 to 11 shift, you know, and he is that shining example to all of our clients, you know, what recovery can be, and he's, you know, supports them along their way in this journey. So if you could say just a couple things about what it's like, just to close this out, what life's like for you today and what it's like working for the company, man, just kind of put that out there and we'll kind of close with that.
Well, life is amazing. You know, like you just said, credit. Like, who's worried about credit when you're out in the streets, you know? Like, I've built up my credit. Like, I became responsible. you know, like I've helped a lot of people, you know, like I never imagined in a million years my life would be anything like this. Like I'm doing CODA right now to work on myself, a different level of recovery inside of myself. I never stop learning. But as far as sanctuary, like sanctuary is my sanctuary. Like when I went into my interview with Yolanda, like and she told me her vision and how it wasn't about, you know, the numbers. It was about quality of care and about helping people that acclimate, you know, to the world, that are in recovery. Like that's what I needed, and that's what I love helping people with. Every time a guy graduates from my house, like I'm so grateful, like so grateful that I could have played a role in his life or her life, that I could help them to find jobs, that I could help them to start to look into credit. I'm teaching humans how to be better humans by being a better human. And I couldn't ask for anything more than that. I've came to terms, I've surrendered to my higher power, and I've lost a lot of prejudice about the church, you know, and about organized religion. Because if you ask me what religion I am, I'd say I'm AA. Like I do this religiously, you know. And that's all I could say, bro. Like all of you guys, like Haley, Jason, like Topher, like everyone here, we're all solid people. And you hear about people like they're on their way to work salty because they got drama with this person or that person. We don't have that shit. Like I feel less stressed coming to work than I do going home. I love sanctuary. And I never want to stop feeling this way.
And we love having you, man. And it's just to share this moment with you, dude. It's just an extreme. I told you.
You did.
I did that. I did tell you, dude. And it's so powerful just for everything God's plan, God's plan to come to fruition, man, to have this team and assemble it with all the guys, man. And it's unbelievable. Really, it's believable after all the experiences I've had now with God working in my life. But reach out to us, man. Come be a part of what we got going on here. Haley, where can they find us at?
They can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and it's all at Sanctuary Recovery Centers.
Let's put our admissions phone number out there.
Our admissions line is 480-309-9945.
Call the number, man. Ask some questions. Look for us. Find us. Like our stuff. Subscribe it. For all of our listeners across the country, man, you know, continue to follow us and share our material. If you want to be on the podcast, reach out to us. If you want to come share your message of experience, strength, and hope. If you work for another facility, get at us, man. We want to have you on here because, again, as always, I say it all the time because it couldn't be more true. Recovery is a team. And so let's come be a part of our team over here at Sanctuary Recovery Center. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. See you next time.